Sometimes, we pretend that we don't want people to notice us, but that's what looking good does. And we're not really talking about, stealing the show the moment you just come in, with your very expensive clothes and cologne. People get to notice you. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the basics. We're talking about dressing so nice just nice that when you walk in, people don't begin to wonder which planet you just dropped from. Okay, and it's important you also understand we ended the last part saying that looking good and being attractive entails simply wearing nice, well fitting clothes. There are those who don't understand their body size, and so they will normally wear what doesn't go with their body size. If you are a bit plump, like myself, okay, no, we are not fat, we are just plump. If you're a bit plump like myself, you may want to not wear things that hug you too tightly. Well, but at the same time, you also don't want to wear what looks big, because it could make you look bigger. I'm not a fashion expert, but this is basic. It has to do with looking like, there are clothes that bring out, how good you look. We want to lose weight, but then someone says, I like the way you look. If you come into a place, you'll probably get a seat faster than anybody else. And I remember this particular occasion. Perfect example of what I'm talking about tonight. I went with a lady. Now, she was invited to sing. Beautiful singer. It was in the city of Owerri, and I was supposed to be her manager, so I put on my suit. I was well dressed, and then she was not that well dressed. She wasn't wearing rags, but she was wearing something close to that. Neat, but then it didn't befit, the kind of function she came to perform. And when we walked in, they left her at the back. They took me to the front seat. Maybe they thought I was one of the big donors, something like that. And she was so angry that day because she was supposed to be the one, but somehow I was recognized because of the way I was looking. Well, that doesn't mean you have to put on suit every other time, because there's a type of people that would take you too seriously if that's all you do. And then if you don't like roll-ons, you can get something very cheap, something affordable. Life is such a beautiful thing that if you can afford the 10,000 naira worth of cologne, you could get one for 3,000. You can also, you even have ones for 300 naira. Is that cheap? So you have no reason to disturb people with the way you smell. It's not your right to do that, because we're sharing the air. Everybody's sharing, okay? And there are those that the moment they sit next to you, let's say in a public bus, you're like, if you can just freeze your air for some time, you will do that. But that's just because, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say people smell, but then don't they? Okay, and then it doesn't have to be expensive. We need to stress that. And then it is not always the way. Now, some people will say, there's an argument. A lot of people will say it's not always the way you look. It's not all things are not always the way you look. So you could so they don't place emphasis on the way you look, but then it's also not always the way you don't look. Now, quickly, let me make the next impression, the next point. Now, those who look attractive and those who don't look attractive, those who look good, those who don't look good, those who dress fine, those who don't dress fine, are all making impressions. Everybody is making impressions. Now, I just hope you will like the impression you're making. I'm telling you, every expression It's an impression. And I hope you like the impression that you are making. Now, there are people, I don't know whether you live around them, there are people who have looking good issues. Let me make it worse. There are people who feel sinful when they look good. They don't feel, maybe they feel they should take the money they are using to look good to give to the motherless, to give to those who are suffering instead of looking good. That's okay. And if you want to belong to the monastery, you can do that. If you want to ostracize yourself to the mountain, you can do that. But if you're going to live among human beings, there are basic little things. And sadly, these are the people who also want you to treat them like they belong. And I'm saying that there are certain things you do that will make you more welcomed. There are certain things you do that will make you naturally more accepted among your peers. Now, those who pay little or no attention about it do so much. They do much later. Now, for instance, there are those who, when they were in their 20s, they didn't pay so much attention to how they looked. It just didn't bother. But what they do is that at a certain point, they find out that a lot of people really don't want to have much to do with them. And nobody is going to tell you the truth. It gets worse. When you add, you not dressing fine with body odor, mouth odor, and what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And whether it is just the normal, we sweat a lot. This is tropical Africa. There are places where if you go without perfume for 1 week, nobody's going to notice because you're virtually cold all of the time. But that not in Nigeria. Even during season, the cold season, you still get a sweat in. The moment the sun rises, it comes with a bit of heat. And then imagine the hot weather. Imagine all of the things we go through. And that reminds me, there was a story of this white man. I don't know, I think he doesn't like water. Because as at the time the story was told, he had not taken his bath for about 42 days. And the problem had to go to court because he wants to make love. And the woman is saying, you go bath. And it became an issue. Wow, you will say, well, that happens abroad. There are people who, the kind of work they do, they sweat a lot, but they still don't bath. They still don't like bathing. Now, thank God we call it undies. The things we wear under. There are two kinds of pants. There's the Americans will say pants. They say put on your pants. They don't necessarily mean the undies. Sometimes they call trouser pant. But then there's the pant under the pant. And thank God it's undies but even though it's undies, I used to have a roommate while I was in UNN who will not wash his boxes for 2 long weeks. 2 long weeks. Some will break that record. And so each time we come in the evening and then he pulls off his trousers, it's boom. Everywhere is booming. Now imagine it's a girl noticing this. No matter how much you love this guy, you want that he takes care of himself in the very basic ways. And you can imagine in these cases, sometimes it's a man teaching the lady to take care of herself. There are ladies who will not wash their hair. They take off that stuff they used to cover it, and it's like boom. Now the stench hits you like, oh my God! I think I don't get it. I hope I don't get into trouble this night. But we've got to say it. We've got to say it. And then the other part of the whole thing is getting carried away by let me try to balance it now, because I know some of you will say, too much over flogging of a particular issue. Now, the other part is when you think all there is in life is just the way people look. There's more to life than the way people look. But then there's nothing wrong with balancing the way people are with the way they look. That's the balance. That's the balance. I'll take one more song and then I'll open up the talk lines. I'm done talking tonight. We'll talk some more when the calls begin to come in.